Hi, I'm Dave Retterer. I'm going to be teaching a couple of classes at Ohio Northern University, the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering and Computer Science in the College of Engineering this fall. And I thought I'd tell you a few things about myself and maybe a little bit about the courses that I've done, just so we can get to know each other. And then when you get on campus, you can tell me about yourselves. And I look forward to meeting you. I've been a native for 40 years, almost 41 years. I came here in 1979, and I've loved it here. I've enjoyed it. I was associate professor of mathematics and computer science here for most of that time, and now I'm back. I retired in 2016, and now I'm back to cover for a late resignation. And the two courses I'm teaching, which are design patterns and software or theory of computation, are courses that I've designed over the years, and I've taught many times. I've taught each of them many times, and they're kind of interesting in the technology world because they're pretty much the same kind of thing as they've always been. The theory of computation for an introductory course has really not changed that much. For deeper level courses, it has changed a lot. But I'm going to give you kind of a classical coverage of the theory of computation, and it will help you understand some things that would be very difficult to get an understanding of otherwise, in my opinion. In one thing, you get to understand what languages really are, what alphabets really are, and how that has anything to do with computer science. In fact, the language concept, we're not talking about spoken languages, we're talking about what many people call formal languages. Formal languages such as C or COBOL or Pascal or C++ or C# or Java or Python or any of the plethora of languages. Those are formal languages, and that's what we're going to develop through the term, starting out with some very simple ones and then moving through and learning how to classify these languages, learning which ones can do what kind of things for us. So that's what the theory class is about. The design patterns class is about taking problems that we know about, and then we determine what the best way to solve the problem is in a software development world. And then we formalize that solution into what's called a design pattern. The design patterns we're going to be dealing with are purely designed to be done with object-oriented languages such as C# or C++. PHP is almost object-oriented, but it has a few things missing with it that make it difficult. And in that class, you'll do a lot of writing of code, you'll do a lot of designing of code, and you'll do writing of papers. And you'll do some presentations as well, in front of the class. So I just thought I'd let you know what those courses are going to be about, and I'll make a video about each one of them, one video for each of those classes. But I do want to mention something to you about your approach to how this class might go. There's a lot of things, especially if you're going to be doing it as one person, as far as I know now, if you're going to be doing it remotely, that is very difficult to pull off. And I'm guilty of not doing this, as I'm sure you are and most people are. When we read, for example, you're going to have a lot of reading to do in either of those two classes. But when we read, we so often have so many distractions around us that we don't really do anything other than peruse. We don't do anything other than a really low level of reading. And we don't read to understand deeply. We read because we're supposed to read this thing. And that's not a good way to learn. So I'm going to be kind of at you or in your face a little bit. Of course, now not literally, but a little bit in your face, or a lot in your face, to find out if you really deeply understand the thing or things that you were to have studied. I'd like to distinguish between those two concepts, reading and studying. Studying means that you go through and read it, and if you didn't understand it, or you found yourself getting off track thinking about something else, then you go back and read it again, and you keep doing that until you really know what these words mean that you've read. So I've gotten pretty good at telling if somebody has actually done any reading, or they've just done some perusing, or maybe done some reading but not any studying. And I'm going to find that out. There's another thing that I want to point out, and that is that someone can ask you a question when you're, let's say, in the 3rd grade, and what you say, they'll give you credit for. But by the time you get to the 5th grade, let's say, they don't give you credit for that anymore. That never ends in your life, ever. And so by the time you get to these 2 courses, the Design Patterns course is a sophomore level course, the theory course is junior and senior level course. The answers that you give for things will need to be more technical and more accurate than the answers that maybe you got away with when you were a college freshman or when you were in discrete mathematics, for example. So I'm going to make sure that by the time the course is over, that you understand how to answer questions in a very professional and in a very technical way. And there are many, many, many people in professional and technical positions who can't do this. But I can tell you this, that I've had a number of students, especially from the Design Patterns class, who have come back to see me a year or 2 or even 3 after they've graduated to tell me that the reason they got their job was because of the way we teach you how to answer questions and how to study versus just read. So I think that those are pretty good indicators of kind of my attitude about things, about how the classroom should be. This time we have, and I'm not going to talk much about this, but this time we have an additional issue to deal with, and that is this virus. And you're going to have to sign a document when you get here that says that you agree to the terms and conditions of being on campus. And one of those has to do with taking your temperature and or knowing the symptoms of the disease. The other one has to do with things such as wearing a mask. And we're going to wear masks, and I'm really not happy about that. But it's not my call. It's the call of the president, the board of trustees, those who run this college, this university, and we're going to wear masks, and you're going to wear them in my class, and you really have to do this whether you like it or not. So I don't like it, but I'm going to do it, and I'm not qualified to be a good enforcer of whether that's a valid mask or whether that's a proper way to wear your mask. But I do know that it needs to be over your nose and your mouth and probably over your chin as well. I think that's what they say. So finally, I wanted to mention that I'm not a very formal guy. I wear blue jeans most of the time, especially since I'm retired. I haven't shaved since, I don't know, for 2 or 3 weeks. And I wear t-shirts to class, and I'm kind of a plain-spoken fella, and I expect you to enjoy yourself, but I also expect you to behave as adults. But my point is that I really believe that being an informal person in this position makes it better for my students, because I hope you feel unafraid to come and see me. I'm going to have office hours on campus, and I'm also going to have some of my office hours online. And you can contact me. I'll give you my contact information, and you can contact me. I just want to make sure that you feel free to contact me, that you don't get embarrassed when I ask you a question and you don't know the answer, and that you are willing to tell me that you don't know something. Those are important things. So I think we'll have a good time. It's going to be different than normal, but lots of things are different than normal. And I'm really looking forward to working with you and working through this material. I love this stuff. I get excited about this stuff, and I hope I can get some of that buried away in your brain too. Okay, I'll talk to you later. See you on the 10th of August.